Hello, good morning. How are you? Yeah, I'm fine and good. So today we are going to start with a new chapter which is percentages. So what we are going to cover in this chapter, first we see the percentage definition, then we are going to see what is the basic formula for increase or decrease, then some conversion formula. After that we move on standard percentage or value. Okay, and then we see the concept of profit and loss and also do some practice question on this concept which will more clarify your doubts and give confidence on this topic. Okay, so what is the basic definition of percent, or in layman terms I say percent means per 100. Okay, or a number out of 100. The meaning of percentage will hidden in the percent word, percent. Now you remember as that percent means per 100 simply. Okay, so whatever you calculate here, you always take the base value as 100. You always calculate with base value 100. Okay, so let's take an example like 25%. Percent means 25 by 100, right, which is 0.25. Similarly, one example I take, did this you understand? Okay, so 60 is what percentage of 80? That's okay. So here the base value change means what he asked here he asked, or we can say that 60 out of 100, right? 80 is same as x out of 100. Okay, so if I use cross multiplication method, so I write as 80 into x equal to 60 into 100, or when you find the value of x, it is 60 into 100 divided by 80, which you got 8 30, or maybe 2 to the 4 to 5 get 10, or 2 15. So here you got 75%. Okay, so what do you notice here? You notice here per 100 what you have to change. Okay, base value they give here, the base value here, base value become 80 instead of 100. Okay, means what they ask, you have to convert 80 base value into 100, and he asked in the terms of 100. Okay, so this is about basic definition of percent. So please note it down and let me know. Done? Okay. Now make one note here, to calculate percent you always need a reference value or base value. which I tell you. Like in the previous question, we take base value of 80, reference value. Okay. Which comes in denominator, and the quantity which need to be compared goes in the numerator. So this note you have to remember, like 60 out of 80. So 60 by 80, and in percent you have to multiply by 100. You got the same answer as 75%. Did you got this? Done? Okay. Now here we are going to see some formula of percentage increase. Go through formula, right? So we see if they ask in the question percentage increase or sometime percentage decrease. So what is the first is the formula of percentage increase? Final value minus initial value upon initial value into, or let's say I denote final value and initial value as, so percentage increase is nothing but final value, FB is final value, IB is initial value upon initial value into 100. Up now here they gives first one initial value, okay, and one final value, and they ask what is the percentage increase from initial value to final value, percentage increase. So this is the formula of percentage increase. Here final value is greater than initial value, and you always compared with initial value, not with final value. Similarly for percentage decrease, either you remember the formula initial value minus final value upon initial value into 100, or you also here final value is less than initial value. So this is also positive, because in decrease sum there is a negative sign. It means here you don't put two negative signs, or either you use this formula for percentage decrease, and if negative sign come here because final value is less than initial value, then you have to say it is percentage decrease, if you want to remember one formula. So this is okay, but you have to carefully go with that. If minus sign come means it is percentage decrease. Okay, got this? Okay, now note it down please. Then there is one concept. If I say C is a percentage of B, what it means, you have to understand this. C is means equal to, of means into, means C equal to a percent means A by 100 into B. Just like simple this. Okay, so this is you have to remember. Like if I take one example, so the example is previous one, 60 is what percentage of 80? Let's assume what as x. Okay, so 60 equal to x of, okay, what percentage means x by 100 of 80 means into 80. So here you have to find the value of x. Simple like this. So got this? Okay, B, C, more few example. We also see few example more on this. Like you have to focus on the keyword. What you always assume as x. Okay, so what percentage of 80 is 64? So if I assume x of means into 80, x by 100 of 80 here I write what as x simply. Okay. Of means into is means equal to. Okay, so I write as x by 100 into 80 equal to 64, right? So I write as x equal to 64 by 80 into 100. So when you calculate this, you got 80% here. So simple. Now this is what percentage of 64 is 80? So here again write x by 100 directly into 64 equal to 80. Okay. So here x is 80 into 100 by 64. So you calculate the value of x and you get the 125%. Okay. Right. This is the answer. Now one type of question. What percentage of 80 is greater than 64? Now you also get one keyword then means the number is compare with 64 means 64 will always come in denominator. Okay. So if by logic we going to see, so 80 greater, so how much 80 is greater than 64? So I write 80 minus 64, right, which is 16. Now you need to 16 is what percentage of 64? So 16 is equal to x by 100 into 64, right? Here you get x equal to 16 into 100 by 64, which gives you 25%. Or let's say if he asks the what percentage is it is greater than 64. If I use the formula of percentage increase, so compare with 64 means initial value 64, right? And this is the final value. So 80 greater than 64 means we have to directly compare like this, 80 minus 64 greater than into 100. ओके यहाँ पर आप डायरेक्ट भी कंपेयर कर सकते हो क्योंकि 80 ग्रेटर देन 64 पूछ रहा एज कंपेयर टू 64. So here you direct. If you don't understand this by logic, this is simple. Okay. Now what percentage is 64 is less than 80? So then 80. So how much 60 is less than 80? 16 is. So if I go by logic, so 64 is less than 80 by 16 and compare with here 80. So here you got the answer by you solving this. Okay, if you solve this, you got I think 20%. Okay, did you got this? Okay, so please note it down, then we move forward. Okay, so now come on the question. Price of a commodity increases from $40 to $44. What is the percentage increase in its price? So first we have to find the initial price, final price, and then put the formula. So this is the initial value. So initial value is 40, final value is 44, and if I put the formula percentage increase, so what is the formula for percentage increase? Final value minus initial value upon initial value into 100, which is nothing but 44 minus 40 upon 40 into 100, which is 4 upon 40 into 100, and 10 is the answer. 10% is the answer. Did you got this question? Okay, so please note it down. Done? Okay. Now there is one important thing on the move on the next concept, which is conversion. Conversion means value to percent or percent to value. Okay. So how we convert any value to percentage? You have to multiply by 100. And how you convert percentage to value? You have to divide by 100. You have to remember these. When you convert value to percent, you always multiply by 100. If you want to convert percent to value, you have also to divide with 100. Okay. So I take some value. The first one is 1 by 2. If I want to convert into percentage, I write 1 by 2 into 100. So it is 50%. Similarly, if I take 1 by 4, so it is 1 by 4 into 100. So it is 25%. More example like 5 by 4. So 5 by 4 into 100, you have to multiply by 100. So 100 by 4 is 25% and multiplied by 5 you get 75%. Similarly, if I take 2, so it is 2 into 100, so it is 200%. 2.7 into 100, which is 27%. Got this? Now, percentage to value 60%. So I convert how to value? 60 by 100 is 0.6, right? If I take 50%, so we know the value of 50%, 1 by 2. So here also 1 by 2, right? 150%. So 150 by 100, 1.5. So you have to mainly remember this, that value to percentage you have to multiply by 100 and percent to value you have to divide with 100. Okay. Example, 80% of 120. Okay. So 80% of 120 is, right? Okay. Please note it down, then we move forward. Done? Okay. Now I come on the standard percent. If you remember these percentage, so you got the answer and do the calculation fastly and easily. Like, what is 10%? So 10% of any number is the 10 by 100, right? So 0.1. So what is 10% is the 10% of any number. 10% of any number is 1 decimal of that number. Example I given you for, like, if you want to calculate the, and also remember the 1%. 1% of any number is 2 decimal of that number. I will give you the example. Wait a minute. Okay. Like, I want to calculate 10% and 1%. Okay. Like if I take 500, so what is 10%? It is 50. 1 decimal of that number. So I put decimal here and got 150. Okay. 1%, 2 decimal, so 5. Okay. 1% is 5. Similarly, if I take 24, right? So what is 10%? 2.4, and what is 1%? It is 0.24. Did you got this concept? Okay. So note it down. Done? Okay. Now I come on to the final value and percentage. Okay. So what in this concept, if x is increased by 10%, this is very useful because in many questions they use the term this is increased by this percent or this is decreased by this percent. Okay. So if x is increased by 10%, we assume any value initially as 100%. So what is the now percentage? It is 110% of x because it is increased by 10%. So it is simply 1.1x. Similarly, if you take x is decreased by 15%. So from 100%, how much it decreased? 85% of x, right? And here you got 0.85x. Okay. Now let's say take an example. 100 is increased by 20%. Okay, so it is 120% of 100, right? So I write is 1.2 into 100, which is nothing but 120. Okay. Now come on one more concept or called compound change. What is compound change? One or two time increase or decrease is compound change. Like x is first decrease by 10%, then increase by or decrease by 20%, let's say. So here x is 90% of x, which is 0.9x, and here x is 80% of 0.9x. So here you got 0.8 into 0.9x, where you got 0.72x, right? Similarly, if x is increased by 20%, okay, and then decrease by 10%, let's say. So here x is 0.8x, or here is 90% of 0.8x. So it is 0.9 into, sorry, here I do the mistake. It is increased by 20%. So it is 120% of x. So here 1.2x. Here decreased by 10%. So 90% of 1.2x, which is 0.9 into 1.2x. Now value you calculate, value is not important, concept is important. So please note it down this, then we move forward. Okay. This is easy way. Either you use the formula. What is the formula we use if we want to? It is simply from this concept. Let's say if x is the initial value and if I increase the a%, so what it becomes, the final value become x1 plus a by 100. Okay, so this is initial value and this is final value. Now how I got this formula? Simple logic. Here increase by a%. Okay, so a% of x is ax by 100, right? And increase in this value means final value become initial value plus this value. The final value here become x1 plus a by 100. Either you use this formula or remember this logic, which method you are comfortable, you use that method. Okay, no problem. Now second, if x is decreased by a%, so you have to only change the sign, x1 minus a by 100. Okay, in this formula. Third one, if x is increased by a%, which become x into 1 plus a by 100. Now it is again increased by b%. So here the final value, first initial value is this, final value is this. Now this is the initial value. So what is the final value? So final value is x1 plus a by 100 plus 1 plus b by 100. So this is here, this is x, here this become x1 plus a by 100. I think you understand this concept. Okay, so please note it down, then we move forward. Done? Okay. Now there is one question. Just give me, I zoom the screen. Tom present salary was 20% more than his last month salary. Okay. If his salary this month is $3600, then what is the last month salary? So what is the salary at last month? Let's say salary is X. Now it is increased by 20%. It is increased by 20% and salary become this month is okay. So it is 120% of X, which is nothing but 1.2x, and value of this is given in the question. The salary for this month is 3600. So X is 3600 by 1.2. So what is the salary for this month? Salary for this month is $3,000. Either you use this or either you use the formula. What is the final value? If it is A, like treated is as A, so here become x1 plus a by 100 and A is 20. So x plus 1 plus 20 by 100 is nothing but given 3600. Second method, or by formula we can say that. So this become x plus 20x by 100 equal to 3600. So this is 120x by 100 equal to 3600. Now from here you come here and solve again this. So this is easy method, I think so, instead of this formula. So you prefer both the method which you like. Okay, so please note it down, then we move forward. Done? Okay, now move on the next question. A amount increases by 20% and 30% in 2 successive months. If the initial amount was $200, what is the amount after these successive months? So this is the question of compound change, because there are 2 increase in the initial value. So if you take initial value as 200, okay. Now first it increased by 20%. So what is become 1.2 of 200, right? And again it increased by 30%. So what is it become? It become 1.3 into 1.2 into 200. Now if you calculate this, you got 1.56 into 200, which is nothing but $312. Okay, so this is the answer. Or either you use the formula. If I going by formula, so by formula I write as 200 1 plus 20 by 100 or 1 plus 30 by 100. From here you also got the same answer. Okay, did you got this question? Okay, so we move forward. Now ETB has two offer. First one which is over 40% discount, and second one which over 2 successive discount of 20% each, under which one he will get a larger. So in this type of question where you have to compare or any value is not given, we assume initial cost as or initial value as $100. Now in first offer what he done? In first offer he that it gave a discount of 40%. So from initial value is decreased by 40%, which is 60% of 100, which is nothing but 60 by 100 and 200, which is we got $60, right? Now in the second offer, what he done, he gave two successive discount, means first he decreased the value by 20%, which we got 80% of 100, which is nothing but 80. Again decreased by 20%, which is 80% of 80, which is 0.8 of 80. Okay, here you got the 64. So in which you get the more discount? In first one you get the larger discount. Okay, did you get this question? Okay, so please note it down. Okay, now a car dealership has 40 cars on a lot, 30% of which are silver. If dealership receive a new shipment of 80 cars, 40% of which are not silver, what percentage of total number of cars are silver? Okay, how we solve this? 40 cars silver are 30%. Okay, so it is 30% of 40, which is 0.3 of 40, which is 12 cars, right? And if 12 cars are silver out of 40, so non-silver car is 40 minus 12, which is 28 cars, right? If he goes a new shipment of 80 cars now, 80 cars, 40 of percent of which are not silver. So here gives the value of not silver. So not silver cars are nothing but 40% of 80, which is 0.4 of 80, which is 32. Now out of 80, silver is 80 minus 32, 48 cars. Now what he asked, what percentage of total number of cars? First we have to calculate the denominator. So total number is number of cars is 40 plus 80, 120 cars. And he asked about the silver cars. So silver cars is 12 plus 48, 60. Now 60 is what percentage of 120? He asked this. So it is 60 by 120 into 100, which you got 50%. Okay, did you get this question? Okay, so please note it down, then we move forward. Done? Okay. Now I come on the concept of which is last concept, profit or loss. Why we read profit and loss here? It is similar to percentage change, which we see in percentage increase or decrease, like this. Okay, here the things you have to remember, these notation or specification. CP, which is the cost price, which is always the initial value. SP, which is the selling price, which is always the final value. So this is the cost price, this is the cost price, this is the selling price, where seller sells the product. Okay, now what is profit? Profit is always selling price minus cost price. Okay. In profit, you know, जब हम किसी चीज को ज्यादा रुपए में बेचेंगे तभी तो प्रॉफिट होगा जितनी कि उसको खरीदा हमने. तो here always selling price is greater than cost price. Okay. So what is percentage profit if anybody asks? So you always compare with the cost price here. Okay, not with the selling price because this is the initial value. Okay. Similarly, loss is nothing but cost price minus selling price. Okay. So percentage loss is nothing but here initial value minus final value, again initial value into 100. Here cost price is greater than selling price. Okay. Now this is profit and loss. One thing is given which is discount concept or marked up price. Markup price means MRP which is written on the product, or say discount is given. So if we say there are $100 TV or anything which is the cost price, here we buy the product. If increase by 15% and I mark the price at mark price. Okay, so this is the mark price, right? Now I give a discount of 20%, so its value decrease by 20%, so it is 80% of $1,500. So what is the selling price? Selling price is this. So mark price is always, when we increase the price, mark price calculate on the cost price. Okay, and discount is always given on the mark price. Okay, this you have to remember. Okay, so what is the discount? Discount is nothing but mark price minus selling price. Okay, and profit is similar as SP minus CP. So you know the formula of percentage of profit. So what is percentage profit? It is so nothing but selling price minus cost price upon cost price into 100. So it does not depend on the mark price, right? But when you come on the discount, so percentage discount is always initial value minus final value upon initial value into 100. So it always depend on the, or always given on the mark price. Okay, but it does not depend on cost price. Okay. Okay, so you, if from we move here to here, you also see as a concept of compound price. Okay, so please note it down, then we move forward. Okay, done. Okay, so we solve one question which will more clarify your doubt. Okay, the market price of commodity is 20% above its cost, above the cost price. However, a retailer offers a discount of 20% during festive season. What is the profit loss made by the retailer? So what we do, I tell you, if any value is not given, so best way to solve this, you have to take the always the initial, you have to assume initial cost prices. You also take X, but it make calculation tough or lengthy. So I take initial cost price, I take initial cost price as 100. Okay, now I assume cost prices, and now he said he marked price of commodity is 20% above the cost price. Cost price is 100, he increased the value by 20% and got the market price. So what is the market price? 120% of 100, which is nothing but $120, right? Now he give the discount of 20% during festive season. So this is the decrease in 20% means 80% of 120, right? So what is the selling price? Because this is selling price, so selling price is $96, right? Now he says he asked about the profit or loss. So we want cost price or selling price. So this is the cost price, this is the selling price. So here cost price is greater than selling price, so we got a loss. So what is the loss? Loss percentage is 100 minus 96 upon 100 into 100, which is nothing but 4%. So here we got the loss of 4%. Okay. Loss equal to the 4% of cost price. Okay. Did you get this question? Okay, so please note it down. Okay, so this is all about percentage. Okay, thank you. Have a good day.